Why couldn't you have told me sooner, she thought. Things with her aunt hadn't exactly gone smoothly since Katie's temporary return. Her aunt was still the same surly, stubborn woman who'd raised her from the age of 10, even less likely to filter her comments now that she was approaching 60. Tact and finesse were unknown concepts in Addie's world. "No one tells me how to run my ranch," she'd said. "I'm not changing a single thing, even if my brother has turned up to harass me. He's a cruel-hearted louse. Always has been." Addie was doubly stressed with Terrence bent on not only ruining the ranch, but also sabotaging the annual Christmas fair looming in 2 months. So yes, Katie knew her aunt had good reason to be short-tempered. But it didn't help that her outbursts had caused both her regular ranch hands to quit. Blaze was no loss, since he'd been stealing petty cash. But Gary had been a steady worker who'd endured one tongue-lashing too many from Addie. Now, with virtually no help, 250 acres of Alaskan wilderness, and a herd of 23 rescued reindeer to tend to, things were getting downright desperate. Which meant, whether her aunt wanted to admit it or not, she needed Katie's help. Perhaps she could set a few things in order during her week away from the office without a major blow-up with Aunt Addie. A leaf scuffled over the top of her muddy boots, startling her. Her sideways movement subsequently alarmed Sweetie, who edged back to the comfort of his reindeer sisters. "Relax, Katie," she told herself. Addie was back at the main house. Law enforcement drove by on regular checks of the property, including Trooper Brayden Ford. An image of him popped into her mind, along with the ever-present tension. Ridiculous. It didn't matter now that he'd almost cost her a position with the Alaska Canine Unit in their Anchorage office. And certainly, he must know she had not meant to humiliate him when she told him the truth about his girlfriend Jamie, though it proved mortifying. Water under the proverbial bridge, right? Still, she wished it was anyone but him patrolling her aunt's ranch at the moment. Her eyes drifted upward. The October moon hung low in the inky sky, and she sighed appreciatively as she breathed in the cold, scented with the musk of the animals gathered in the pasture pen and the meager remnants of the willow leaves they'd finished devouring. The lighter fur of their chests glimmered against the darkness. So quiet here, so peaceful, except for the ever-present drone of the mosquitoes. Nights like these made it hard to imagine why anybody, even Addie's disgruntled brother, would want to harm the ranch. Why such covetousness over a place that existed purely to care for rescued reindeer? The ranch barely covered expenses, let alone made a profit. Not exactly a money factory. She said a quiet goodnight to the animals. The gate squealed as she closed and secured the holding pen. Something snapped in the distance. She tensed. If Terrence was still bent on ruining the family K, maybe he wasn't deterred by the trooper's attention. But the noise could have been anything. A rock tumbling from the bank into the frontier river, a moose foraging for a snack, an elk, a bear. It was certainly not her uncle. She would spot him coming from way off since there was no cover to speak of. Her phone pinged with an incoming call. Startled, she thumbed it on. "Hello?" "It's really dark out here." The voice was a deep baritone. She swatted a mosquito trying to settle on her windbreaker. "Very." Picturing Brayden and his big Newfoundland dog, Ella, made her sag with relief. She was grateful he had not witnessed her panicky behavior. It probably made her seem even more like a kid than the freckles splashed across her nose. And she certainly didn't want to give him any more reason to think her less than competent. "Finishing up my security check," he said. "Everything's okay, except Ella ate the bologna sandwich I was saving for dinner." She could not restrain a smile. Ella, his highly trained underwater search and rescue canine, was a menace to all unsecured food items. She was grateful that Brayden and the other canine team members had been trying to help unearth the ranch saboteur. They had plenty on their hands already, including